Hello and welcome to Cassandra's Corner. I am so excited that you all are here, that you're going to join in on this discussion today. Today we are talking about children, their parents, and during this time, a lot of people are going through, having to make major decisions as far as allowing their children to go back to school and things of that nature. So I wanted to have a discussion from a counselor, and her name is Auketa Govan. She has a master's degree in counseling education and BS in psychology. She's a national board certified teacher. She's a professional counselor of 17 years. I am so excited. Please welcome Auketa Govan. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Let me just make sure we have. There we go. You doing okay today?
I- I'm doing good.
Good, good. So I was just sharing your background as far as having your master's degree in counseling education, a BS in psychology, and just 17 years of professional counseling. And my first question I want to ask you is, well, what made you decide to go into that career path, if you don't mind?
I've always had a love for people, so I knew from the start, ever since a little girl, that I would be in a helping profession, some way, shape, or form. And then when I got older, people would always ask me for advice, and I love working with children, so I just decided to go into school counseling. It's a passion of mine. Um, I work with middle schoolers. I've worked with high schoolers, but I love young people. So
And you have children of your own. What are their ages?
I do have children of my own. I have two girls. I have one that's 10 and one that's 18.
So you have one that's, I think one is getting ready to go to college, right?
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
One going to college and one going to fifth grade.
Right. So you know how it feels to be the counselor and the parent.
Absolutely,
Right,
absolutely.
right. So one of my first questions that I have is, what are the psychological effects of the pandemic, or how can the pandemic affect the child psychologically?
Well, that's a huge question. When I think back to the day they told us that we wouldn't be coming back to school, it was a major shock for everyone, the parents, the teachers, and the students. So we all were affected equally. And I would say more so the children because they haven't built a resilience for different things, in life or what have you. But that was a very stressful time, and it's
Right.
very stressful now for us as a whole. Um, that are going through it. We're all going through it, but as a
Right.
whole, stress, change in eating, change in sleeping,
Right.
anxiety, um, not really knowing what to do can be, very, very frustrating. So, as parents, we need to pay attention to those signs and not just take it for granted because, our children have feelings and they have
Right.
anxieties and they have those feelings of sadness just like we do.
Right. So do you think that COVID-19 will shape the way that this generation thinks moving forward?
That's also a huge question. When you watch the media, it seems like it's not affecting some people. But other people it's affecting because they have loved ones that's been affected,
Right.
people who have died, and some people haven't seen that. They think it's a hoax. So
Right.
I do
Oh, that's
think
good.
that it will affect some people, but I think when and if, and I hope it doesn't, when it hits closer to home, it would change how you think, how you behave. You go outside. Whether you wear your mask or not, those type things we never had to worry about before. But now I know I'm constantly thinking about how can I protect myself or
Right.
how can I protect my family. Just one example, I took a loved one a fruit basket. and it took her a second to get to the door. When she came to the door, she had her mask on, and I giggled, not because I thought that it was funny, but she was like, "I knew you were going to laugh at me." I said, "No, I understand, but that's our new way of thinking. We have to protect ourselves, and now it's really huge. Now we have to worry about going back to school and making those huge decisions, and some of us are stuck in a rock and a hard place, because we have to work, and
Right.
we want our kids to be educated, and they have to be educated. So we have some very huge decisions to make.
I think that is really good. And I love what you said that, and that makes perfect sense. Cause I was thinking, I would think that it would change all the way we all think. But the reality of it is there are some people who feel like it's fake, it's real. And so the ones who may think it's not real, or maybe they haven't had anyone close to them experience it, they might just be living their life. And
Hmm.
even if, instead of saying, even if I haven't seen anyone else experience it, I should still just be careful just in case it is real. But I never thought about the person who maybe they might feel like it's not, real. So, what are ways that we can support our children?
Um, I think the biggest way to support our children, as we also need to be to one another, is to practice great listening. Um, a lot of times, and I'm guilty as well, life can be so busy, with us trying to figure things out, still trying to work or what have you. We could easily brush, our children off, or, tell them to do something else. But we have to take the time to listen to them, so that they're able to express themselves, and so that we can have those conversations with them.
Right.
Um, like I said earlier, kids haven't been through things that adults have. And, it's a good time for us to share stories, age appropriate stories, to show them that when you go through something, you keep going, you get up again and you keep working. You don't give up because something has happened. So it's a good time to share stories that are age appropriate for them. I also think that it's a great time to play games, like do simple things like taking it back to the basics, playing Uno, um, playing memory games, just using that time to create bonds, with your children or with your family that you wouldn't normally have the time or take the time to do. Um, One other thing that I like, is journal writing. Is a little time consuming, but I think is very helpful, and I think it's very healthy. Um, and that's something both the child and the parents could do. Get a cute little journal and make it set out a specific time during the day, where they could just, jot down their thoughts or how they're feeling, and then discuss it. If they want to keep it private, maybe you can respect that as well. But it would be a good discussion starter, during times like these. Um,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, you can go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that is a great idea because I know I like to write and to write my feelings, but to even us having to think about they have feelings too, so the things that you may do to kind of get those out are the same things that we could try with our kids.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One other activity I thought about, is one that I use at home, and I use with my students at school. You could get like a basket or a jar, and you can write down different things to put inside that basket or jar, with things that you could do together. It could be take a hike, do a journal entry, write about your feelings on that first day when you learned that you weren't going back to work or school, play a Uno game, um, do some exercising, create a meal together. So those simple things, or getting back to the basics, would be helpful. So creating a space or jar or a basket to put those items in, and just have the kid to draw it out like when you're just bored, and do those activities together.
Okay, that's a great idea. I've tried some of those, but I haven't done the jar. So I really like that. So, do you have any other resources that you would actually recommend?
Yes, actually, I do. One thing that came to mind I received calls from parents during, when we were out of school, and the kids had a hard time coping because you had some parents that weren't letting the kids go outside, and it's hard. We took, and I know my kids too. You take school for granted. It's a safe place. It's out of routine. You know, but all of a sudden that is taken away from you. You have to stay home. Things are different. So kids tend, or people tend to have that start feeling sad, and we have to be cognizant of that and take precautions. You may have a kid feeling depressed, and we can't take those things lightly. So one of the resources that I would like to share, of course, is the suicide prevention hotline, and I can create like a spreadsheet with other resources to list different
Okay. And I can have that at the
hotlines.
end of the show. I can add that as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that would be helpful, and having it at the end of the show would be good. So people will have a visual and they'll have
Right.
a second to write it down. But we can't take for granted that those feelings aren't internalized and they aren't feeling suicidal or want to self harm because of it. We have to pay attention to those signs, because if we're having feelings, they have feelings too, and we have to respect them.
Right. And it was funny because I saw someone put a comment out there like, so did your kid deal with depression before all of this happened? And I guess that's someone who, because I think people were talking about how it's going to be so important that we realize that we'll have to pay attention to our kids and their mental health during this time. And someone's response was like, so were they depressed before all of this happened? And what people don't realize sometimes is something that they've never experienced this before, and life as they know it is different. It don't mean that they don't love their parents or their parents don't love them. It's just different. And if
Right.
this is different for us, you never know. And each child is different too. I
Right.
know in our house, we have four, and all of them, I can see that it's different on each child, because each child requires different things. So I think that sometimes people don't like the whole, I have to see a counselor or I need to talk to a counselor, not realizing how important that is. I know counselors that have counselors, because,
Absolutely.
yeah,
That's a very important resource. And there's a stigma that we need to end when it
right.
comes to mental health counseling.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this with the kids and with the parents and having a counselor, because I think it's so important to understand the importance of counseling. So I wanted to ask you if you could offer
Yeah,
some positive, encouraging words to our parents. Did I lose you?
I'm back now.
Okay,
Um,
let's see. Hold on one second.
okay. It cut out, but I'm here.
Okay, let's see. There we go. And that's
Okay.
great because you were a little blurry before. So I'm
Oh,
glad. Yeah, so that you look great. So I'm
okay,
glad
good.
to have that. And we were just ending on the last thing we said before you were disconnected was that it's so important to know that going to counseling or having a counselor is okay. Even
That-
if you have to see, even if your child has to see a counselor in school, not to, get nervous about that or feel bad. Because I know some people who, they don't like the idea of their child talking to a counselor,
Right, right,
not realizing that, you went to school for it and you're there to help.
right.
And you just want to be there to assist the parents or assist the child in learning how to cope.
That's right.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for counselors. And before we got disconnected, I was also saying that I know a lot of counselors who have counselors because they
Absolutely.
understand the importance of having someone to talk to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Um, and just to go back, just in case we had any connection issues, you were giving us ways that we could support our children, basically being open to their feelings, allowing them to journal, and you had an idea of getting like I think you said like a glass bottle where they can go in and you guys can have different things that you can do every day,
Mm-hmm.
picking
Absolutely.
different activities that they can do every day. And so, and then you also offered some resources, which we're going to have at the end, that people can call because, it can feel like a very personal thing. But what we want is if you're going through anything, whether it's the child or the parent, we want you to know that there are resources out there for you. And
Absolutely.
and that you're not the only one that's going through, that we're all going through, that even you as a parent, you are experiencing having to make the hard decisions.
Mhm.
You as someone who's going to have to go back to work, you're going to have to make the hard decisions. And
Absolutely.
and people might say, well, you just but it may not be that easy,
Right.
so, and even maybe seeking out a counselor to help you think those decisions out could
Right.
also be helpful.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask if you could actually offer some positive encouragement to our kids and the parents.
Yes, I sure can. The first thing that I would like to say is that you're not alone. We are all in this together.
That's good.
Everybody is in this together. Try not to react negatively when your child tries to express themselves. Um, Parents need to take care of themselves, whether that means drinking more water, taking a walk, or hanging with a friend, or spending some alone time with your husband, or spending some time alone. Take a walk, do those things that make you happy. Um, Practice positive self-talk. When you start having those negative thoughts, replace those thoughts with positive thoughts. And when your kids say something negative, encourage them to choose positive self-talk and show them how to do it. um, Pray. Spend your time praying throughout the day and meditating, and journaling as well. If you feel like you need to vent to release some steam, I heard another counselor say this a few weeks ago, was to vent to a friend, but allow yourself 2 minutes, 2 minutes only to vent, so that you won't overwhelm them or stress them with some of the things that you're saying. Um, Also, we have to be careful about how much media we internalize or we watch, how much we allow our children, or be careful what they're watching, because it can be very stressful and add to our stress. But overall, we're all in it together, and we're all going to get through it together. And we'll be able to look back and say, remember in 2020 when. So, those are my words of encouragement. We are all in it together, and we will get through it.
Miss Auketa Govan, I thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to also, if you don't mind, at the end, I'm going to provide information if someone wants to reach out to you for more advice or even just connecting with other counselors, if you don't mind, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely. That'll be fine.
And I'm going to also ask if you're watching and counselors who can also help, you can tag them on this post and, just add their name so that people can have easy access to counselors and things of that nature. And I'm just so grateful that I know you, Miss Govan, and I know anyone who experiences you, it's a joy because I know that your heart and your desire is to help. And I know
Yeah.
we had some connection issues, but I am so grateful for this time. And again, I'm going to make sure they have all of your information on here. And I hope you enjoy the show. And I
I
hope you all have a great night. Thank you so much, Ms. Govan.
thank you, and thank you for the invitation.
Yes, ma'am. Have a good night, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. you.